Hey guys, Kyle Kochenko here with this week's Coach's Tip. So I want to talk a little bit about push versus pull programming. I originally got this idea from Mladen Jovanovic, which I think he's expanded on it from Dan John, and Dan John's concept is park bench versus bus bench workouts. So the concept of push versus pull can be applied to a lot of things, but basically it means you're going to have periods of time where you're pushing or trying to force adaptation, and periods of times where you're pulling adaptation and allowing it to kind of slowly cook or slowly come or pull along at its natural adaptation rate. So a couple of small examples of this, because again, it's more of a concept, a broad concept that can be applied to a lot of things, is that in top-down programming, you may have a competition that's coming up. You have a certain goal for this competition. If we use powerlifting, for example, you might say, I want to hit X weight on the squat, the bench, or a deadlift, etc. You're going to then use that number you would like to hit and work back based on the amount of weeks that you have and kind of say, okay, well, if I want to hit this goal each week, I have to progress at this weight, at this exact adaptation to be able to get to this goal. The opposite, pulling, would be a bottom-up approach, where instead of having X number of weeks till you hit a goal and a number, you maybe just allow things to come along. So what that could potentially look like, and it's gotten popular over the years, is more of an auto-regulatory approach using like an RPE single at 8. Now, if you don't know what auto-regulatory is or RPE is, you'll have to go look at that on your own because that's outside of this concept. But it would be doing like an RPE single at 8 and then doing back off percentages at that weight. And then over time, you're always holding that RPE 8 single as the same effort and then using your percentages off that. And over time, you'll have these fluctuations where sometimes you're hitting a really high RPE 8, other days when you're more tired, that's coming down. Another example of this could be just in simple exercise selection. So same example, powerlifter, let's say you have X amount of weeks to a competition. You may say that, okay, well, my exercises are squat, bench, deadlift, and maybe really close variance to those. And that's all I'm gonna do until I get to this meet. Very strict prescription of exercises because you know that it has to be specific. But you might have periods of the year where you're pulling adaptation. And instead of having exercises that you're gonna go into the gym and do every day, you might have movement categories that you're gonna do every day. So you might just say, I wanna do some form of squat, whether that be back squat, front squat, a single leg squat, etc. So you can have periods of the year where you just kind of have that idea going into a workout and then just do whatever feels good to you on that day. Now you might want to still think about other kind of principles of training around that, meaning doing a little bit more load than maybe you did last time, maybe trying to add a rep here and there, but you're just kind of letting things simmer along, not really trying to force one specific adaptation.